Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about all the books that I read for the month of June. So obviously this is my June wrap up and I don't know what's going on with me, you guys. I don't know. Lately, I feel like I've been just so dang lucky with the books that I've been choosing because most of these books on this list are 4 to 5 stars. I don't even think I've rated anything 3 stars. And I'll give you the I can't talk. Okay. And I'll give you the statistics in a minute. I'm just like, let's just let it simmer in, okay? Let's just let it sink in. I think I read a total of 11 books, and looking at my stats right here, actually I read 1 3-star. Everything else was 4-star, 4 to 4.5, or 5-star reads. Like, really? Like, come on. I am so happy about this. Even though this month I was in kind of like a reading funk. I wouldn't say I was in a reading slump, but I was in a reading funk for sure because I've picked up a few books and I had to soft DNF them because I was just not in the mood. And I tried several times reading these books. I don't know why. I was just not in the mood. And I was just in this funk of like, what am I going to read next? I have so many amazing books on my physical TBR. Didn't want to pick anything up. Wasn't sure if I wanted to read another dark romance. Like, I was in limbo. I was like in book slump / book funk limbo, okay? Like, luckily though, the last couple of books I picked up cured that for me. They hit the spot and they were just it for me, okay? So we'll talk about those and we'll talk about my ratings in a second. Before we get into the video though, if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. That way you never miss another one of my videos. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. I read a total of 11 books this month, a total of 3,415 pages. My moods this month were again all over the place: tense, emotional, lighthearted, hopeful, dark, mysterious, funny. And then my rating average is a 4.59. Isn't that insane? Like, that is... I don't want to jinx myself. I don't want to jinx myself, okay? Knock on wood. I don't want to jinx myself because to me that is freaking amazing. I am very happy with this. Okay, so let's begin with the first book that I read this month, and I've talked about this book in my last 3 videos I've posted. I will try to keep it brief, short, and sweet, and that is Ready or Not by Kara Bastan. 5 stars, okay? 5 freaking stars for this book. This is a slow burn, surprise pregnancy romance, but it was so good. I don't think I dislike pregnancy tropes anymore in romances because the last couple of books that I've read have been top tier for me. They have been so good, provided everything that you could ask for in a romance, and it's more emotional because there's a baby involved. And I thought I wouldn't like that trope, even though hence I have kids myself, but in a romance it's different. But when they're done so well, like this one for example, it is just the best, okay? So don't deter yourself or be afraid of pregnancy tropes in books because the ones that I've been reading lately have been so freaking good that now I want to read books that have specifically those tropes in it because it's so damn good. So in this book, we're following Evie. I think her name is Evie. I always forget her name. Eve and Shep. And they're best friends. They've been best friends all their lives. They basically grew up together. He is her best friend's brother in this story. So one night, Eve has a one-night stand and obviously becomes pregnant. The father of the baby is actually not a bad guy, but he's going through his own emotional issues during this story that he can't physically and emotionally be there for Eve when she needs it the most, especially going through a pregnancy, you know, a surprise pregnancy of all things. The first, second, and third trimester, which the first I think would be probably the hardest, and then the third trimester is like the most emotional that you could go through when you're pregnant. But he obviously is in and out, you know, of her life during this book. And who steps in? Shep does, okay? And it's their slow burn romance, and it's so beautiful, you guys. I'm so like, words cannot describe enough how beautiful this romance is because it's slow burn, but you know that they love each other, but they haven't admitted it yet because they haven't realized it yet. And he does all these beautiful, kind acts of service that just make her pregnancy and make her as a person during this time in her life feel so much better about the whole thing and excited. Like, he holds her belly, for Christ's sakes. He massages her feet. He does these little things that he knows that she loves just because he loves her, just because he's so madly in love with her. And he's been madly in love with her ever since they were kids. And it's just so beautiful to watch their love slowly grow, to watch their friendship slowly blossom into something so beautiful. In reality, in real life, most of the time, the guy, no matter how much he loves you, he will normally wouldn't put up with that, you know? Not that it's something to put up with, but normally wouldn't put up with having the dad's baby in the picture, you know, loving this woman so much, but never denying that she needs to have a relationship with the baby's father. And you guys, the way that Shep loves her in this book is so good. It's so good, okay? So good, 5 stars. Then I read Where's Molly by H.D. Carlton. I loved it. Another 5-star read for me. This is a side character that you kind of meet in Haunting and Hunting Adeline, the cat and mouse duet. This is her novella and her story, and it's set in different timelines. We follow her before she gets abducted, and then we follow her in the aftermath of what she does, where she's a complete badass, by the way. She is such a badass. We follow her and her love interest. And is this dark? Yes. Is it gory? Yes. Is it disturbing? Yes. But we love it. So 5 stars. Then I wanted to I wanted to read this book because it's been on my TBR ever since it came out and everybody raves about it. So that is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I gave this one a 4.5. You know, I didn't give it a 5 just because it was good, but it wasn't, I honestly feel, you guys, like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is like the best thriller I've ever read in my life type of thing. I don't know why. So that's what kind of like influenced me not to give it a 5-star, but it was a fun ride, okay? It was suspenseful, it was psychological, it was thrilling. I didn't guess anything. It was twisty. I loved it. It gave me everything I wanted in a thriller like this. And in this one, we're following Nina Winchester, and Nina, you know, has had a rough past, has done things in her life, and now she just wants to be able to make ends meet. She's currently living in her car. She has barely any money, and she can't afford to get fired from a job. However, she did get fired, and she's so desperate to get this housemaid job. So she interviews with, I forget the name of the family. We're not following Nina Winchester. We're following Nina Winchester. The Winchesters are the rich family that she is working for. The main character's name is Millie. I think her name is Millie. I am so bad with names, you guys. It's so embarrassing. Anyways, the main character's name is Millie, and she desperately needs this job, so she goes out of her way kind of to get this job. She gets this job. She works for the Winchesters. They're this rich, snobby family, you know, that live in the best, beautiful, modern house. The problem is, though, that as Millie works there and, you know, and she gets like the walkthrough of the house, she notices that the room that she's going to be living, because she's going to be a live-in housemaid, only locks from the outside. Okay, and that is very weird. What's also weird is that Mrs. Winchester, Nina Winchester, the wife, is acting really weird. She has mood swings, and there's something off about her. And the story goes from there. I personally, if I had this job and I saw that the room that I was going to stay in locks from the outside and not the inside, meaning like somebody can lock you out, I wouldn't work there. But money talks, and obviously the main character needed it, so you can't blame her for that. But you guys, this was twisty. This was thrilling. This was psychological. This was like, I didn't guess anything. It was juicy. It was like, you know, jaw-dropping to me, because I couldn't believe half of the things that were happening in this book, but it was so good. I had a great time. Then we have Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This is a dark romance based off of fairy tales where the villains get the girl and get the happy ending at the end. This is part of the Never After series, and obviously this is a book 1. I enjoyed it. I really like Hook. This is Captain Hook and Wendy's story, and it was so good. I love Hook. I love who he is, and I love the way he treats Wendy. He kind of kidnaps her at one point, and we love that. We love to see that in a dark romance, okay? Say no more. I will read it if there's a kidnapping. Don't judge me. This one I ended up giving a 4.5. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't a 5 for me just because it didn't give me that feeling, but nonetheless, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both characters. I really, again, loved Hook and how he is in this book. How you kind of get to perceive that things aren't always what they seem, that the reason why he is the villain is because of certain things that happen in his childhood and certain things that Peter, who's supposed to be the good guy, does or did to him, you know? So there's triggers in here, a lot of triggers, so make sure you check your trigger warnings, because some of the things were very hard for me to read. Nonetheless, I enjoyed it, and I plan on continuing the series. Then, because I was still into wanting to read something else dark and fun, I picked up this little novella, and that is because a girl on TikTok literally explained that this was, even though it's such a little book, it was one of the best reading experiences she's had so far this year. And I'm like, I gotta pick that up. No Place to Hide by Harper Ashley and Ren Hawthorne. This is a very short and sweet, smutty, seasonal Halloween dark romance novella. If you could say that. I gave this a 5 because yes, this was fun. It did what it had to do. The spice scenes were good. The barn scene, if you've read this book, the barn scene was my favorite. And this obviously takes place during Halloween at a creepy carnival, which we love that. And in this story, I forget the name of the characters, but we're following a girl who I think it's her senior year, and she's this A student, you know, she's kind of snobby because she's perfect at everything, cheerleader type, kind of like that girl that gets everything, gets good grades, has her life planned out for her. And it's her romance with a carnival worker that she meets there, and she decides to have one night with him, and the story goes from there. Let me just tell you, like, some of the scenes in this book were unbelievable, okay? Unbelievable to me, because it's like, okay, oh, so we're doing this, so we're reading about this, so he's doing that, oh my gosh. And there's a scene where he's wearing a creepy mask, and I had a good time, okay? I enjoyed it. If you want something smutty, something that takes place in Halloween, something that just has really good spice in it, really good smutty scenes, pick it up. You'll have a great time. It was fun. Then I read Better Run by Elena May. This is also kind of like a little novella. It's 200 plus pages. This one is another dark romance. It's about a girl who gets kidnapped and her two love interests, and the story goes from there. Again, this was so fun. There were times where I was like, okay, I'm kind of over the whole like Stockholm syndrome thing where she doesn't want to like her captors, but she does. I was kind of a little bit over it. I think this is what kind of put me in a little bit of a book funk, because I was just over it at one point. This could have been shorter. That's why I gave it a 4.5, because even though it was fun and the scenes were great, you know, it was really good spice, really good smutty scenes, I was just over it at one point. This could have been shorter. I would have been just as fine as if it was only 150 pages. The last 50-ish or like 40 pages of this were okay. They were just fine. The ending was good. I really enjoyed it, but again, 4.5. I feel like some of these books, you guys, like have gone through my head. I also think it's because maybe I've read them through my Kindle, and I'm not a Kindle reader. I'm trying to be, but I don't know. There's something about holding in the actual book and feeling the pages that is so satisfying to me. The next book I've read is a psychological thriller, and that is The Good Lie by A.R. Torrey. This was really good in the slowest burn kind of way, but I had a good time. Even though there was a lot of slow times during it, it didn't deter me from like putting the book down and not wanting to pick it up. It was very fascinating to me, and it was interesting. This is all I'm gonna say about this book. It says, 6 teens murdered, a suspect behind bars, a desperate father. In a case this shadowy, the truth is easy to hide. 6 teenagers dead, finally the killer behind bars, but are the games just beginning? This is about a psychiatrist and an attorney. There has been this serial killer who abducts boys. He's called the Bloody Heart serial killer because he does unspeakable, horrendous things to these boys, and he kind of leaves a mark on them, some type of signature that you can tell that it's him doing these crimes. They catch the killer, or so they think, and he's behind bars. We're following his attorney, who decided to represent this man because his son fell in the hands of the Bloody Heart serial killer. And so obviously for the attorney, the father in this book, this is very close to home because he just wants to get to the bottom of why this person did it. This is not a spoiler, but he is convinced that the person behind bars is not the real serial killer, and the real serial killer is out there somewhere. So he hires Gwen, I think her name is Gwen, who is a psychiatrist, to kind of help him investigate and deep dive into this investigation to help him find the real killer. Gwen, on the other hand, believes that the real killer has been caught. The story goes from there, and it's them navigating these psychological emotions and things that unravel as secrets, and it's so good. I had such a good time. Again, this was 254 pages. It felt longer because it was a slow burn, but you guys, it was so good. Like, I don't really like to read thrillers that have a lot of like attorneys, the legal system, you know, the investigation, the background of that. I don't like that. I don't like to read about that because I feel like it's boring to me. But this one did it such an amazing job. The author did such an amazing job to slowly reel you in and keep you going, keep you wanting to read, even though not a lot was happening, but it was just the way it was done, okay? Just take my word for it. I had a really good time reading this. The reveals, like the reveals in this book, I was like, what? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Then I read An Inconvenient Wife by Karen E. Olsen. I was very excited about this because not only is it part of my Once Upon a Book Club book pick for the month. It comes with gifts and stuff like that, but also because look at how beautiful the cover is, and it's about rich wives and a murder happens, you know? But unfortunately, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was gonna enjoy it. In the beginning, I was glued on, and then towards the middle and the end, I kind of, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to move on. This is a retelling of Henry Truder, I think is a modern Truder mystery, a retelling of Henry Truder and his 6 wives, because I guess this man is notorious for marrying women and then 2 end up dead on his marsh in his property. So we're following his latest wife, which is Kate, who used to be his assistant. She can't help but question, did my husband do this? The story goes from there. And so, you know, secrets get revealed. There's suspense. It is psychological in that sense. I just, for some reason, didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I would still recommend it because it was still good. I just didn't really I wasn't obsessed with it. And then the last 3 books, you guys, the last 3 books was what really made me get out of my funk that I was in. I have no idea how I got into this funk. I think it was because I was reading dark romances and I was kind of just over it, and then I didn't want to pick anything up, and then you know how that goes. So when in doubt, if you're in a funk, pick one of these books up, okay? Pick this series up. Even though the books are chunky, they go by so fast and they're exceptionally good. These are all cowboy romances, and you know what I'm about to say. This is part of the Chestnut Spring series, so I picked up Reckless, which is the 4th book in the series. I only have 1 more to go, and I have no freaking idea what I'm gonna do with myself. What am I gonna do with myself when I finish that series? You know, I don't know. I'm gonna be crushed. This is my favorite book out of the entire series. I know I said Powerless was. This though, I love Theo. I love how he is. I love the steamy scenes in this book. I love Winter and Theo's relationship so much. So we're following Theo and Winter. Winter is Summer's sister, and Winter is known to be an ice queen. She's very mean. Nobody really understands her. She's unbearable. She's insufferable. Nobody wants to be around her because she's very mean, and it almost seems like she's angry all the time, and just that's how she is. But the reason why she is the way she is, and the reason why she's misunderstood, is because she's gone through some things in her life and it has made her that way. She's also going through a divorce in this book, and you know, that makes her bitter and it makes her feel like an unlovable woman. And so we're following her and Theo is a professional bull rider. He's very hot. He is very arrogant. He is a smartass. He is cocky. All the things that you would not like about a guy, he is in that sense, personality wise, but he is so good. His personality is so good. I love it. I am in love with this man because he is the only one that can take Winter's shit. He can take her jabs and her meanness and love her for it. And we love a man like that. Okay, we love a man like that. How they meet is that she, you know, is taking a break from her job. She drives out of the city and she's going to the ranch to meet up with her sister and their family. Theo is driving to the same dinner and he gets stuck behind her. She doesn't know how to drive in the snow, and so they don't meet in the best circumstances because she thinks he's a psycho trying to follow her and make her crash, and he thinks she doesn't know how to drive and he's getting frustrated. This scene you get to see in Powerless at the end of the book. I already knew I wanted to read their romance because of the banter that they have between each other, the encounter, the fact that he takes her jabs and gives it right back to her and doesn't give a fuck who she is, doesn't care that she is this ice queen, and doesn't watch his mouth, which I love. Also, this is another book that has the surprise pregnancy trope, and we love that. We love that. We love to see a man who is known to be a playboy and has been around the block and just gets his shit together because he wants this baby as much as Winter does. And the story goes from there. And this is also very emotional too, because Winter is going through these things by herself. She's pregnant. There's a huge miscommunication there. She's kind of heartbroken because of her divorce and her situation. When you're going through that stage and you're pregnant, you tend to have these negative feelings about yourself, that you're not pretty enough, that your body's changing, that you're not lovable. And it's hard to watch her crumble like that and do this on her own. But then Theo, like, literally changes her world, rocks her world, makes her feel like the most exquisite, beautiful thing he's ever seen, is so good to her, such a great father. Read this book. 5 stars, Infinity 5 stars, my favorite book of the whole entire series, even though Powerless was my favorite. This stepped it up a notch. This was so good. This was everything. Everything. There's so many lines in here that I would love to read to you guys, but I don't want to give anything away. Read it. Take my word for it. It was so good. It was so good. Then I read 2 books from this author back to back because now she is one of my favorite authors of all time. The way that she writes her books, these are beach reads, by the way. Put these on your summer TBR. You will not regret them. They're short, they're sweet, but painfully good in a good way because they have emotional damage in them. The characters are flawed. The characters are going through things in their lives. It's more like a fiction with a subplot of romance, and it's so good, you guys. These books are like if Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez had a baby. Again, this author has become another one of my favorite authors of all time because of the way that she writes her books, because her books have pain and flawed characters, struggles and issues that they go through in their lives, and then they grow as characters alone and then they get together. It's so beautiful to watch. And that is Nora Goes Off Script and Same Time Next Year by Annabelle Monaghan. I bought her 3rd book. Her 3rd book is going to be in my TBR for July because I'm obsessed with these books. Both of these books, 5-star reads, okay? 5-star reads. They make you feel the pain and the things that these characters go through. They make you feel how realistic a flawed romance can be and how beautiful flawed characters are. I love her books, and I've only read 2. I love her books. I'm obsessed. Nora Goes Off Script. This one is about Nora, a single mom who's going through a separation in her marriage because her shitty husband decides to up and leave her with her 8 and 12-year-old daughter and son. And it's so sad because she's a single mom trying to make ends meet. This story is so beautiful because she writes Hallmark romance manuscripts for a living and they turn it into movies. These are the kind of movies that you see on the Hallmark channel, that they're low stakes in a quaint, quiet, cute little town, and there's a happy romance with a happy ending at the end. So she writes those kind of romances, and she lives in the most cutest rundown little farmhouse with land in this small town. In her property, she has what you call a little tea house, and that's where she does her writing most of the time. She goes in there, she lights up a candle, she turns on the fireplace, and she just gets lost in writing her manuscripts. Her last manuscript is different because it's not a happy ending, it's not Hallmarky, they don't end up together at the end, and it's because she decides to write that based off of her reality of what she's going through in her life, based off of her separation with her husband. It becomes a big hit. They want to film a movie about it. They want to do it in her tea house. So the crew comes in. The main actor that is going to be playing her husband in this manuscript is Leo Vance, who is one of Hollywood's hottest and most well-known celebrity actors. He plays the role. They take 3 days to film, and when the crew leaves, she finds him in her tea house, and he doesn't leave. He propositions her to stay for a week because he's also going through his own things in life at the moment, and he just wants to get away and pick up the pieces of his life. And what better way to do that than Nora's cute and quaint small town, cute and quaint little tea house. He propositions to her that he will pay rent to stay here for 7 days, and the story goes from there. This story is heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time because the single mom struggling with her kids, trying to make ends meet, trying to pick up the pieces that her husband left behind because he left them and didn't care, trying to explain to her children that daddy might not come back. And it's so emotional, you guys. It's so relatable in a sense of her trying to be the best mom she can be with her kids, but also kind of not, talking bad about her husband and trying to explain to her kids the reality of what is happening in their lives and them trying to live without their dad. And so the way that Leo treats his family and Nora, the way that he loves these kids, and he doesn't have to because he's this top celebrity. He can have any woman he wants, but he chooses to love Nora, and everything she has to offer him and her kids is so beautiful to watch and so beautiful to see these two fall in love. Read it because you will be pleasantly surprised on how beautiful this romance is. The cover, don't let it fool you. It is not a rom-com. It's more like a fiction story with a subplot of a romance in there with real flawed characters and real life situations that they go through. How they grow together as individuals and how they come together is just so beautiful. And then of course I had to jump into her next book because I'm obsessed with this author now. Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. This one made me cry. This one is childhood lovers second chance romance. It takes place at a beach. There's a lot of surfing. It's beautiful. The aesthetic of this book, it's gorgeous. It's the perfect beach read. Obviously takes place at a beach, but it's so emotional and there's so much pain in there. There's so much miscommunication, but it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Again, it made me cry. And I had 100 pages left. I devoured Nora Goes Off Script in one day. I devoured this in a day and a half. It was just that perfect, okay? Another 5-star read. Then we're following Sam and Wyatt, and Sam and Wyatt met because their parents had a beach house that they go to every year in the summertime, and they became best friends, inseparable. Every summer they would come together, they would surf all day, they would eat ice cream, they would do the things that you do in a beach town. And slowly, as they started getting older, as they became teenagers, they fall in love. They realize that they love each other. And then when Sam turns 16, something happens in their friendship that totally, literally breaks their relationship apart for the worst. Fast forward to 13 years later, Wyatt, still living in this beach town, is still playing his guitar, is still doing the same things that he has done all his life. And Sam is living in the big city with, I'm gonna say, a vanilla fiance at this point, because he is good on paper, doctor, handsome, well put together, very neat man, very well-groomed man, very nice man in a sense, and very boring, very vanilla. Okay, so 13 years later, she is, and this is in the back of the book, it's not a spoiler, but 13 years later, she is engaged to this man. She's gonna go to the summer beach house one last time to see her parents, to show him where she grew up, and so forth. And then when she gets there, Wyatt is there. And the story goes from there. This is so beautiful. By the way, if you're worried about like the cheating trope, there is no cheating in here. It's done very nicely. It's very clean. It's good. It's good in that sense. So you don't have to worry about that, because I was worried about that. But this was so beautiful. This was so heartbreaking. This was another slow burn. Like so slow. Like you want them to get together already, but it was done so well, you guys. I cried. I cried in this book because I could feel the heartbreak and the pain and the things that these characters go through without each other. But you know that they need to be together. It's just so beautiful, so beautifully done. That's the first word that comes to my head when I want to explain this book to you, is that it's so beautifully done with flawed characters again, and life issues, real life issues. And she's stuck between, do I marry my fiance or do I leap into this crazy consuming love that I had for my best friend Wyatt? Like, it's just so good, you guys. So good. Read it. Okay, so there you have it. Those are all the books that I read for the month of June. Again, really, really great books. Got introduced to a new favorite author of mine now. I will be reading her newest release next month. I'm so excited. And yeah, I'm happy, you guys. I'm really happy with the month. Even though most of the month I felt like I was in this weird book slump / book funk, I still ended up thriving with my reading at the end because I read such amazing books. And again, got introduced to one of my favorite authors of all time at this point. I'm feeling very lucky. So there you have it. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will catch you on my next one. Bye!